committees that met since we were last together. For the budget committee, that's surprising.
We, I think our last meeting was before our last board meeting, yeah.
Town policy committee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a vote.
Okay. Anything else that I'm missing? Wow, you can slide it off. Any board member comments to share before we move on to the agenda? All right, thank you. Student representative report, Sawyer is both going to give his report, and we have some guests that he's going to introduce this evening.
Thank you. So to start off with some sports, girls basketball current record is 10-1. They had a game on the 20th where they won against Pittsfield 54-11. And their next game is the 27th at Portsmouth Christian Academy at 6 p.m. Boys basketball, their current record is 8-2. Their last game was the 20th where they lost 38-52 against Farmington. And their next game is tomorrow against Concord Christian Academy at home at 6:30. For indoor track, we had a meet yesterday at Phillips Exeter Academy. We've had a lot of people hit qualifying standards since the last school board meeting. So we have Naomi Powell in the 300 meter, Spencer Bozek in the 300 meter, Will Clark in the 600 meter, Simon Harshman in the 600 meter, Ben Patrick in the 2,000 and the 3,000 meter, and then Evan Sheen in the shot put. We also have two school records.
This one's first.
We have Ben Patrick in the 3,000 meter. He beat the previous record for 2012 of 10 minutes, 11 seconds, and 60 milliseconds, with a time of 9 minutes, 47 seconds, and 10 milliseconds. So a big record. And then we also had Evan Sheehan break the shot put record from 2013 of 35 feet and 7.75 inches with a throw of 36 feet. Wow. And then, depending on the weather, we either have our next meeting on Saturday or Sunday at 10 a.m. at UNH.
Sensing themes.
For hockey, their last game was the 22nd, where they played against Wyndham, where they lost 6-3. And then their next game is the 10th against Londonderry and Dover at 5:20. Oh, sorry, not the 10th. I forgot to do that. Whoops. Swim, their last meet was the 10th at UNH. They had a school record for the 4x200 meter free relay, where Aiden Wu, Matthew Woods, Dylan Hayden, and Aiden Fournier broke the previous record of 1 minute, 56 seconds, and 44 milliseconds, with a time of 1 minute, 54 seconds, and 29 milliseconds. And then their next meet is the 25th, depending on the weather, at 9:30 at UNH. And then Unified had their home game at Newmarket yesterday against Dover, where they won. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it because I had my track meet, but I heard from pretty much everyone that went that it was a great time and a great game. Besides sports, I don't have too much for you guys. Earlier this week, the juniors had a meeting with the counseling department talking about course selection for next year. And then also Emma Fortin, who's the current vice president and media manager of the student council department, I think late last year to talk about setting up a Newmarket High School Facebook page. She recently was able to get that set up. She had a meeting with Dr. Corman, and the account is now up and running and has been actually already showing different accomplishments and activities taking place in the school. And then lastly, I would like to welcome up some Newmarket Elementary School ambassadors to talk about some of their upcoming initiatives.
Thank you, Sawyer.
Figure it out.
Hello, my name is T. Demers from the Newmarket Student Ambassadors. I am here to talk about Newmarket Band and Chorus. We started band and chorus in October. We practice once a week. Band practices before school and chorus practices after school. Last week, both band and chorus had an opportunity to perform at the junior-senior high for our families. It was amazing. The band played 6 songs. Our favorite songs were Hot Cross Buns, Aqua de la Luna. The chorus performed 4 songs. Some of our favorite songs were Crowded Table and Here We Go with Shoveling and Winter Warning. Later in the week, both the band and chorus also got to perform in front of the whole NES community. It was a bit nerve-wracking to perform in front of the students. We didn't want them to judge us, and we really wanted to be good role models to encourage younger students to join band and chorus.
Thank you.
I am Wesley Sliga. This December we ran a warm and wonderful winter drive. Our focus was to help other people safely enjoy our wonderful winter months. The first organization we support was the Southeast Land Trust, or SUTS. SUTS works to provide and manage lands in New Hampshire. It also provides nature-based programs for kids all year round. To support this program, we collected new or gently used winter hats, mittens, or mint gloves for winter outdoor programs. We collected 3 huge baskets of supplies.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sakai.
Okay.
We also collected money for the Community Children's Fund. The Community Children's Fund is run by Exeter Area Chamber. This organization raises funds to provide warm winter clothing and bedding for families in need in the Seacoast area of New Hampshire. It was also a lot of fun to collect donations that would make kids happy and safe during the winter. It was also great to see how excited the kids and adults were to donate. We collected $60 in all.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emerson Hemka, and I'm here to talk to you about our theme of the month. This month's school theme is perseverance. We have persevered a lot in January. First, we persevered through iReady testing. We also persevered during our band concerts. During one song, we struggled to get the beat, and we went together. We stopped, and Miss Ellie helped us get the beat correct. Then we cut. In the chorus, during the concert, some people got emotional, but we stayed focused. During the NES performance, there were some problems with technology, but we persevered again. Finally, we have persevered during the recess. Do you have any questions?
We completely sympathize with having problems with technology. But questions from the board?
I guess, Emerson, what did you do on indoor recess? I'm sorry you had to persevere through having recess indoors, but what did you end up doing?
For my class, we played with Hot Wheels. We made a really cool track, and we also played Twister.
Nice, thank you.
Our room was overheating and it was hot, and the struggle was real, and it was really. Thank you for your time.
I think we have someone you could talk to about an overheated room here.
Yeah, we'll get on that.
Yeah.
It's not hot anymore, though, I hope. Okay.
I have a question. Do you students intend to come back to teach us more slang language of Newmarket Elementary?
Definitely.
Can we schedule that? I do have to say, you all were incredibly well spoken, and might I add, you all look incredibly professional.
Thank you.
All right, hearing nothing else, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Boston, I'd like to invite you back at another time this year. It's your, absolutely. Please do.
All right.
Are you
Sawyer,
cooked,
does that
Dan?
wrap up what you've got? All right, so we will move along into the superintendent report.
Well, actually, I'm going to start, actually, before the elementary people leave here, I wanted to just tell about some exciting news from the elementary school. Mr. Pine, you mind coming up to the mic real quick? We got some very exciting news last week, or about a little over a week ago, that Newmarket Elementary School has been chosen to do a presentation in the Eddies Awards tomorrow. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Todd. We have been, as you know, the school has been doing a really close self-examination of our teaching and instruction and incorporating activities for the kids to really enrich the learning community that we have. The Eddies we recognize as New Hampshire Schools of Excellence for educational practices. Through our self-examination, we were always sitting down and go, you know what, I think we're ready to apply to the Eddies. So my teacher leadership team really took this on, and we wrote up what we have been doing and where we're headed, which was very well received by the Eddies board. So I'm pleased to say that we've made it through the first hoop. Tomorrow morning, we'll be in Concord at 10 o'clock to, again, present the second round of information for them. If we get through that hoop, there'll be a site visit at the building as well, and then we should learn sometime in March of whether we are one of the schools, one of 3 schools that gets selected. They pick one at the elementary, K-8, 4 schools, K-8, middle, and high school. So very excited about it. I'm super impressed by the teacher leadership team, and all the teachers have really contributed into that. Well, fun thing is that we're actually having a 5th grade student come up with us, along with her mom, who happens to work within the building itself as a substitute teacher, to speak about our connection to the community in general. So they're looking at things of how we use data, our alignment of our instructional practices, the integration with the community at large, how do we support and empower students and teachers within the building. So we're very excited about it. We look forward to presenting, and I think we will be excited to come back and hear the results, which will be sometime next week. We'll know if we're moving to the next levels. But fingers crossed.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And just know, in our hearts, we all know NES is a great school deserving of an award, but I do think it's wonderful to put yourself out there. I think the work that your team has been doing the last couple of years around visioning our programs and really developing that common sense of who we are, I think that's resonating, and it'll be great to see how the outside world interprets it. So thank you for doing it, and thank you to your team for that.
I did have a question, Mr. Pine.
Sure.
Was that connected to the one-word survey?
That was connected to the one-word survey, and that was one of the things that we, last minute, we wanted to see what we could get for, we asked everyone in our school, all our families, one word that they would pick that truly identifies something that they love about our building. And we got 94 responses in less than 24 hours. So
My personal feedback was that it was so quick and easy, and the fact that it said one-word survey in the subject, yes, I have time for that.
there you go.
Thank you,
Good,
Sean.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's a rare thing in this day and age, someone can have a one-word survey and stick to one word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So kind of moving on with my report, I did want to just bring you up to speed. The alumni survey that Jody Callanan and Leslie Robillard came and told you about back in December has been administered. It was sent out to all the members of the class of 22, 23, 24, and 25 that we had email addresses for. We had 248, and I went back and looked. There's only 263 kids that have graduated in that time span. So we had the vast majority of them. It went out, 53 have responded, so it's 21%. I will speak from some personal experience. When I was at Oyster River, we hired a company to do an alumni survey, and they used to talk about, if you can get 10 or 15% response rate, you're pretty good on a survey like that. So, and what was particularly telling is that it's equitably distributed across all the grade levels. So I think the data will allow us to look at it and could do some comparisons. So I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you. As Sawyer mentioned, the process of course selection and stuff has just started. So the last thing I'm going to do is ask Leslie and Jody to pull together a presentation on the survey, but know that at some point before the end of this year, we'll come back to you and summarize that data for you. So it's kind of exciting. And I would tell you, there's an awful lot of enthusiastic Newmarket graduates who had a lot of really, really good things to say. So it was very exciting. So there's that. I did want to just mention, obviously we're heading into we're not heading into, we're in the thick of budget season. So tomorrow I will be sending out an email to the community kind of highlighting all of the various issues we have and the resources we have currently on our website that people will be able to see. I I didn't want to unveil it today because I want to wait until the deliberative session to officially unveil it, but we do have a video that we've developed explaining all the issues of our warrant. So it will be on the website tomorrow, so if any of you want to check it out tomorrow, you're welcome to. But it's a really nice narrative explaining the issues that we're dealing with in the proposed budgets and the various warrant articles. So that's coming. So I look forward to being able to share that tomorrow. I did want to take a minute, just because there's been a lot in the news. This is not a happy topic, but I think it's important that we talk about things that are significant. Obviously, ICE has been very active in this country in the last 6 months or more. Some of you may have been watching some of the news coverage out in Minneapolis with some of the actions going on there. I'm not going to get into the politics of things, but I do want to say one of the things that's most concerning is the impact it's having on school-age kids and families. One of the in fact, in Minneapolis, one of the tactics used at Roosevelt High School there was to actually be waiting outside the high schools when parents were coming to pick up their kids and so forth, and taking that as an opportunity to detain people. Clearly, that's a situation that we would like to avoid in Newmarket. One of the things that I am happy to report is that we do have an incredibly positive relationship with our local law enforcement, Newmarket Police. And so we are working actively with them to kind of come up with some strategies. Next week, actually, we're having a joint meeting of the police department, town manager, and many school employees to kind of walk through sort of what's happening, what are some of the courses of action that we can fall back on, and just be ready in the event that something happens. As scary as it is, I am hearing reports that ICE is very actively operating up in Portland, Maine, and Lewiston, Maine. They seem to be wherever there are large immigrant populations, and so it does create a lot of uncertainty. And I think we want to be proactively thinking about it here, trying to think about the populations of families that we have, and making sure that we can be supportive. But do know that it's something we're trying to think about. I wish I had absolute solutions for you, but I don't. It's unfortunate the environment we're in. But I am very pleased that our police department and our town government, they're very, very interested in working together to try to resolve those things, so to do what we can together. So I just wanted you to know that. And then I did want to make one comment. I think I mentioned this in my report, in one of my reports in December. We received a technical advisory from the Department of Ed on audio video recording as it relates to the new Parent Bill of Rights. In fact, thank you to your mom for giving you permission to be here tonight, Sawyer. I appreciate that. One of the things that there's a lot of gray right now in terms of what it applies to. I think the original intent of the law was focused on in-class recordings and recordings of students for academic purposes. The DOE has chosen to interpret it to also apply to athletic events, school board meetings, drama productions, and things like that. And so we're gradually trying to work our way through what does it mean. And just to give you an idea of what it may require, we ask every parent at the beginning of every school year if they sign off on a waiver for their child to be photographed or whatever. Unfortunately, that is not enough by the new law. It has to be done on a case-specific basis based on how they're interpreting it. So if you can imagine, we have a basketball game in the gym that we're video streaming it, which by the way, we are not currently video streaming any of our home games, but just pretend we were, and there are games that we go to that is the case. But theoretically, anybody from the school who's in that event, whether they be a spectator or a team player or whatever, theoretically we might be in a position to have to get permission for them to be able to be there to make sure we're following the law. Clearly that would put an end to any ability to put things out in the public domain. So anyway, we are still waiting for the New Hampshire School Board Association to give us policy guidance. The law that the DOE has interpreted to include things like theater and so forth doesn't say it. It doesn't say that. So that it's the DOE's interpretation right now that we're dealing with. So we're being very careful. So that all the students that are here tonight, we ask for parental consent. So we're trying to make sure we're doing that. And just for your own edification, if you have children who are in athletics, Jamie Hayes is looking at there's a platform that everybody signs up for called Huddle, which is also what is the platform used by the various streaming entities that, and there's a place where consent has to be given. And so confirming that all of our athletes have that consent. So if we do send kids to another town where it's being videotaped, we know their parents are okay with it. So anyway, it isn't an easy thing to do because in the past, we've always thought about, you know, a public event is a public event and like you can't control for what people see. But this interpretation has brought, you bring your kid to a basketball, it's your choice is whether your kid goes. But anyway, I just wanted you to know we're struggling with that, and it has created some awkwardness. So again, for anybody who we've had to reach out to for that purpose, please understand until we get clarity, we're going to do that, and it's going to be, it might be a little annoying, but it's to make sure we're not in any way violating the law. Okay? And that's all I have to offer tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting to see the interview with the state senator who sponsored the original bill going, no, not like that. So there's quite a bit of, it's very strange the way the DOE has chosen to play this. It almost feels like somebody wants to point out how ridiculous this is.
Well, I do think there's a number of laws that have been passed in the recent past that have been done with a very narrow agenda in mind, but they didn't think about the broader implications. And it's like, there probably is a logical reason for having this kind of a parameter, but it shouldn't apply to all these situations. And I think that's what was not included. And there are a number of other laws that you could make the same argument. That's like, clearly there was an issue here, but did we have to make a law that applies to everybody in all situations? And I think that's kind of what's been happening lately.
Fair enough. Was there anything else that Sean was here to talk about aside from what we covered before?
I asked both Sean and Andy to hang around until after the data presentation, just in case there are any questions about specific building level stuff.
Okay, thank you. In that case, the high school principal, Dr. Corman, I think has a presentation for us on a planned overnight field trip.
Less for a presentation and more just an overview. We have, for the first time since I've been here, the honor of having two phenomenal performers qualify for New Hampshire All-State. Reagan Yao on the choir side and Maggie Ellis on the band side, specifically clarinet, have been recognized as outstanding in their respective fields and have been asked to join the New Hampshire All-State Performance Group. It is a multi-day event that culminates with a performance at the Capitol Arts Center in Concord. Essentially, both ladies would be going over to Concord, staying in the New Hampshire All-State organization, talking to Tony, essentially rents out a Marriott over there and turns it into a dorm to house the kids. They'd be housed with other students who are performing or participating. They go Thursday night. They have kind of a big group meeting in the one of the conference spaces at the hotel. Thursday night, Friday morning, buses appear. They, as groups, get bussed over to Concord High School. They spend the entire day practicing as groups because this is the real first time they've had the entire New Hampshire All-State Band and the entire New Hampshire All-State Choir together. Tony described it as boot camp for these kids. It is a very long day to make sure everybody is on point. Obviously, you have the best of the best in the state, so it comes together quickly, but they move them along. And then Thursday night, the groups get bused back. Friday night, the groups gets bused back. And then Saturday morning, they get bused over to the Capitol Arts Center for, I believe it's an 11 o'clock performance for band, and then choir follows up after, and then there's a joint performance of everybody. Speaking with both ladies, they are very, very excited about this. This is a really big deal in their world. This is top of the top. You are literally one of the best instrument or singers in the state of New Hampshire, and both the ladies are we know they're great. It's really nice to hear at the state level how awesome they are, and it's a real big deal. Tony and Maria are very excited about it, and we're just looking, because it's an overnight trip, for your approval today, for these ladies to go have that experience. That's all I got.
Questions? I'll just say congratulations to
Absolutely.
Ms. Yount and Ms. Ellis, and also congratulations to Mr. Foy, and he's been doing some tremendous work with all of the performing arts students in the school, so.
Just a curiosity, personal curiosity question. Are they seniors, both students?
No. No. They're gonna be here for a while.
Okay.
So I'm very
Excellent.
excited. Yeah.
Did you say one was a band member?
Yeah, Maggie plays the clarinet,
Oh, okay, great.
and Reagan is a phenomenal singer. She was in this space about an hour and a half ago, practicing for her role as Fiona in Shrek. It was great. But yeah.
Yeah, don't, if you've heard the national anthem performed at a basketball game here, you've heard Reagan sing.
She's phenomenal. I went to her about 12 hours before my first year here for graduation, which is the biggest event in town, with due respect to the spaghetti supper. And at the time, she was a freshman. I said, I need someone to sing the anthem, and she got out there and just rocked it, and no nerves, and she just did great. Really nice.
Yeah, actually, I do have a question. Does Tony stay up there with them for the entire weekend?
Tony is there Thursday night, and Maria is there Friday night.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Patty will come and go over the latest data from, on student performance.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
I think student achievement is the right term.
Yeah, student,
Mark, sorry.
yeah, assessment data. It'll be fairly quick. But the last time I was here, the state hadn't released yet their percentage of proficiency, so I'm able to share that. So I wanted to swing back around with that and share that with you. So you're aware of our schedule really hasn't changed with the fall, winter, spring benchmark for our iReady diagnostic for reading and math for our K-8 students. And then our high school students, you'll see here for our New Hampshire SAS assessment, along with for grades 3 to 5 for reading and math, our 5th graders for science, and then for the high school level, it is of course our middle school grades 6 to 8 for reading and math, but then our 8th and 11th graders for science. And then of course our AP exams and SATs in the spring. And I do have some beginning reports of our PSAT data, and I'll explain to you it's a little different this year. So to start with our iReady data, our kindergartners, you're not going to see 3 or more grade levels below, because kindergarten is their first year in public school. So typically it would be a 1 grade level below. And again, a quick review for our iReady. Students respond to questions against the grade level standard. So that is the criterion. It's a criterion referenced assessment. However, it does follow along with national norms as well. So you can see that's where our K-5 students are for reading. I'm looking at our 4th grade group, and to have 30%, and even our 3rd grade, near 30% of our students at mid to above grade level is a strong showing. And then for our math as well, you can see, when it says 1 grade level below, I always like to remind teachers, and teachers do remind students and parents too, because it's at the beginning of the school year, students are being assessed on the standards for the entire school year, like that they would. So it's really typical. 1 grade level below doesn't mean, oh my gosh, my child is a 4th grader, that means they're in 3rd grade. No, it just means they haven't mastered all of the 4th grade standards, which would make sense because they just started 4th grade. So we always, so that you tend to see a really big jump in that January, which they're currently taking right now. So I'll be coming back again, and I can share with you that growth.
Persevering.
Yes.
That's what they said.
They're
They were
persevering.
through
Oh, they
it.
are persevering through their assessment. Yes, they are. Absolutely. And then for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as well, I would say really kind of strong to see that fall The mid to above grade level, hovering between 32 and 34% in reading for our middle schoolers, I think is quite positive. And then for math, you can see a lot of those higher score percentages are in the early on grade level. So again, with math, it kind of makes sense with if they haven't been introduced to those math standards, that's not where they are right now in the fall. So we're hopeful to see a big jump in the January one. So this is the slide that you've seen before, but I didn't have the state data so that you can see there. And I have to say that our reading in particular, we're really outperforming the state with proficiency in reading. I mean, to see that our third graders, it's just exciting for me to see. I remember when I was hired and being shown data of our reading and being asked questions about, you know, what would you do? And because it did not look like this 4 years ago. So I certainly speak to the hard work of Sean and his team. Having a literacy program didn't automatically make our scores jump, but what it did provide was structure. What are the necessary literacy components that every classroom needs to embrace and implement? And that was what we were really lacking, I would say, 4 years ago. Not having that consistency, that structure, the language, and the teachers have worked immensely, incredibly hard to really build on a foundational reading program and their practices, I should say, because it's always the teacher in front of the program. It's not the program, it's always the teacher. And so really just kudos, it's just gives me like the tingles, you know, when I see all of that, because it's really exciting to see. And then and I would also like to point out for our middle schoolers, to see 81% proficient at our 6th graders and the state at 53. I mean, that's really something to celebrate. And right along with our 7th grade, you know, a strong showing of 67% to 55 to the state. So really kudos across the district in English language arts. I think it's really exciting. Did you have any questions there?
I just had a comment related to the literacy program, because my 2nd grader, who has asked that we cancel iReady.
Yeah.
The chair said no.
No, yeah.
And
Persevere.
And she, and she, while she thinks she certainly has some strong opinions about my view, because she would like to just be reading whatever she chooses all the time, she did bring home a Scholastic News on Martin Luther King last Thursday. Mm-hmm. And we were looking through it. She was wanting to tell me about certain things, and she was kind of teaching me. And so she was reading, and she said, "Oh, do you know why this word is darker than the other words?" And I said, "Oh, what?" "Because it's a vocabulary word." I said, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" "Well, that means that it's an important word, and do you know what you do if you don't understand what it is?" So she pointed to the box where it says where it was. And then she said, "Or you could just read it and think, what other word goes in that place?" And I just thought it was very interesting. I do have a point that she was applying skills from this program into something else that is obviously not related to the program, that it was, you know, real world.
Right, and I feel a part of that, what a program helps supports teachers. You were speaking to text features, right? So we're teaching kids text features. What is it about this? And they're also learning close reading. What is close reading? We don't close read an entire novel, but there might be a page in a novel where a teacher might say, "Hey, this is an opportunity that we need to read closely." So what does that look like? I used to say when I taught 8th grade, we're going to lift the text right off of the page into our minds. You know, what does that mean? And that's what we're doing at our elementary school, that those close reading practices shift to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So when they're reading a science text, the teacher might say, "Hey, you know, let's read this paragraph again. Well, I read it the first time, but now I'm going to read the second time, and what am I going to look for? What understandings am I looking for? What vocabulary words am I looking for? How can I stream those together? How can I use context clues to understand what this word means to me, rather than the old way of looking up the dictionary?" The kids still didn't know what the word meant, but to really talk about, you know, language and what it means. And I feel what the program has helped the teachers with, kind of like, what are the questions we ask kids sometimes to really get them to be deeper thinkers and critically analyze a text as well and make those connections. So I'm so excited that she did that. Love application.
I do have 2 questions. First, Lonnie, question for you. Did you point out the irony to your daughter that she was using iReady to teach you something while despising iReady?
No, I did mention that it was related to my view, and that if she just sat and read the books she wanted to all the time, that maybe she wouldn't know it.
There you go. And
She didn't like
actually, a
my
legitimate question, Patty.
Yes,
So,
a legitimate question.
yeah, or not that that wasn't legitimate. These are some fantastic numbers. It's great to see the improvements. I know when I first joined the board, there was a lot of concern, and we implemented math and reading
Yeah.
programs. But it strikes me that the state is a very large comparator to use the averaging us, because the state has different regions, it has very large schools of kids that may be at different levels. Do we have any indication of how we compare?
That's coming next.
Oh, well.
I have a slide just for
It's
you.
like we did that, okay, thank you.
Yeah, it will come right after the math one, that'll be next. Yes. Okay, because that has just been released as well, when the state averages came out. So that's reading,
I
and
just wanted
here's
to prove
our
that I was paying
math.
attention to the presentation.
Say that again?
I just wanted to prove that I was paying attention to the
You
presentation.
are, yeah, you're a step ahead of me, always a step ahead of me. So here's math, and I am very pleased, or we are pleased with these math scores. I think we obviously have room for improvement. And we are currently, I'm very excited about our district math committee that's made up of K-8 educators and special educators. And our focus in our math committee at the beginning of our district committee has been, oh, we have to buy a program. We have to buy a program. It's because we have Bridges, K-5, and then we have illustrative math, 6-8. It's just not meshing, blah, blah, blah. And so instead of the focus being the program, I've taken our math teachers in a different direction to be about, let's take a look at our standards. What are we teaching in each grade level? What are the priority standards, the supporting standards, and then the additional math standards? They're all important to teach, but what are the priority ones? And really talking about that, we did a really neat exercise. I just took the papers down from the SAU building. But we took K-8, and we mapped out with colored strips per grade level what those priority standards look like. And then to have teachers step back and say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize grade 3, we know they teach place value, but it's not a priority. But it is in 4th grade, but they're doing, so this very deep conversation, because what we need to do first as math educators is really lean on ownership. What does it mean as a math educator to own your teaching in a classroom? And ownership means really knowing our standards for my grade level, but it's also knowing the standards for where my students are going in the next grade level, and knowing the standards where they're coming from. So through this committee, we're not hearing so much, we need to buy a program, because again, I'm going to remind you, it's always the teacher in front of the program. So let's learn more deeply about these priority math standards and what they look like in our classrooms before we jump to a program. And I feel like the momentum of our group is truly understanding that, because I'm also asking them the same prompt. What does it mean? What does ownership mean as a math educator? So to look at their responses from our first meeting, after our 3rd meeting, you see this just growth of understanding. And so we're hopeful in March, PD Day, we can do that same activity with our K-8 teachers. And we will talk about programs. Certainly we will talk about that, but it's important that we're really deeply knowing our math standards, and then what the teachers are also talking about, what does instruction look like in the classroom? Great, we're getting these standards, but we have to talk about how we teach that so that our students are internalizing. They're mastering, but they're also internalizing so they're able to apply that math learning. So I want you to know, we are working on math. We are a little slower, but it's good, deep work, and we don't want to rush, but we want to get it right. And really have the teachers, empower our teachers to make those important decisions too. So I wanted to share that with you.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this chart. Every single year, when you go from 5th to 6th grade, we see a big drop.
Yeah.
I mean, my perspective is having had 2 kids go through this, illustrative math is so disconnected from what we're teaching K through 5. I mean, it's not surprising that the kids get to 6th grade and say, what is this? This doesn't look anything like what we did in elementary school, so.
Yeah, through our meetings, we're having our fifth and sixth grader teachers, because we have a few teachers from fifth grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth, speaking to just that. And what they're learning from each other, the more they're talking, is language. Oh, I've been using this terminology. Oh, in fifth grade they do this terminology. And so really coming on board where we need to be using the same terminology. And so again, coming up with that, and if the teachers decide at the end of the day we need this, but really both programs are built on deconstructing math, their philosophies align. Again, it's the how-to. And teachers, sometimes we're finding out maybe I'm teaching a standard that I shouldn't be, because it's not my grade level standard. And if I'm spending all this time teaching this standard that I shouldn't be, what am I not teaching? So those conversations have been very rich. It's been rich for a kindergarten teacher to say, oh my gosh, now I get why there's such a focus on cardinality, because I see now where it goes in first, second, and third grade. Like, those are important subjects, because I always like to say the resource supports your curriculum, but you need to write out what are those priority standards, what are supporting and additional, and that's your curriculum. Now, IM and Bridges, that's your resource to support that, but we have to get our instructional practices more consistent and common in language, and it's a heavy lift. Yeah. But I don't want you to think we're not going to look at resources, because we will, because if the teachers say, yeah, but it's too different here, here, and here, then we are open to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that, because you and I have had this conversation multiple times over the years.
I know, and the
that
data
I've been
speaks
up
for
here.
itself.
It's just
the
so
data speaks
striking
for-
the way
you're
it
absolutely
jumps
right.
off this page that something, we're not doing something correctly here.
Yeah.
And as a board member in my third year up here, I just feel like we've been dancing around it for years without ever directly addressing it, so.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
I do think one of the other problems with programming is that with certain programs, if you're somebody who hasn't practiced or isn't strong at deciding how you're going to teach something, and you just follow whatever is presented to you.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we do or don't have teachers like that. If it's a spiral program and all of a sudden it brings up measurement again, or 3D shapes, which is always more fun than other things, and you spend too much time on that, and then you realize nobody ever gets to measurement conversions, and I can speak as a former fourth grade teacher. At the end, you're like, here comes the test. We've never taught measurement conversions, so let's draw a gallon guy, and this is how you do that. And then that is an area that never gets taught year after year after year. So by the time you're in sixth grade, you're like, what do they want me to do with this?
Well, that was one of the standards that we talked about, was measurement and data. About, yes, they're supporting standards, you still have to teach them, but then it really gets big in middle school, and you're like, wow, it's not until that it's a focus, it's a priority standard.
And I've been in a situation where I've been begging, for a program, because it's a lot harder to not have one. But then if you rely heavily on that, and that becomes your curriculum and your
You're absolutely
teaching.
right. So we call it like turn the page, I'm gonna turn the page regardless. And again, we're not saying that that's happening, but if you know your standards really deeply and how the best practice to teach that standard, you're not gonna turn the page as quickly as if the kids don't get it. Yeah.
Or if you don't need to focus on that.
Right. Some
Somebody else.
pages you can go really quickly because it's not a priority standard. It's like an introduction, and that's why you need to know your standards well, right? Yep. Okay. So
Thanks. I was going to say thanks, Dan. That is a really good point. I think we haven't discussed this directly as Pat.
Yeah. Okay, so.
But what's, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, when I was noticed there was comparisons with other districts. I don't know if you folks have seen that.
It's coming, it's coming.
But when you look at them, it's interesting that districts that I feel like were similar to Epping, Raymond, Sanborn,
Wait till you see
were
this.
even above Exeter in reading and math.
Are you
so-
on the slide before I am?
No, of course not. I'm not using numbers.
That was supposed to be a surprise.
I'm not using
here.
numbers. I apologize. It's germane to this conversation. But I'm wondering if we compare fifth to sixth grade transitions for like districts, what do we see? Is it a common thread that fifth to sixth grade, at
I
schools.
can reach out to my colleagues in
Yeah.
Southeasters in the area and ask.
I mean, is it because
if
we
they
have,
see
they
the
switch
same thing.
schools in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
or in Newmarket, where they don't in
Yeah.
another school like Deerfield or wherever?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I will do that, Gary.
And I apologize for stealing your thunder.
It's supposed to be a big surprise. Okay. It's all right. Okay, I'm gonna go to PSAT, then we'll go to, I've done this I've shared with you before, just their, when they take their total score and they compare it to the percentile. So for PSAT, here's the thing, and Jody Callan and I worked on this together. Because typically PSAT, and maybe we're trying to decide, maybe they do it in the spring or summer, but they'll give you just grade 10 for Newmarket and grade 10 for the state, grade 11 Newmarket, and for some reason they're combined together. So that's how I'm presenting this. I'm hopeful perhaps when I come back, they'll have separated those scores. But basically we had 119 students take the test in school, the fall one, it was in October. And so the number of the kids meeting the evidence-based reading and writing benchmark is 78%, which I feel is great. And that falls like within the 500 score of reading and writing section. And the state was 71% meeting benchmark, and that also fell within the 500 because it's a range. The percentage is a range. So that's reading. And here's math. 100, again, same number of test takers. 39% of the kids fell within the meeting or exceeding the math benchmark. That, I don't know why that says ERBW, that should say math. And the fall, okay, this must be the wrong slide. I'm sorry, but this is math. The section score for math is 471. And I know it's interesting that it's 37% for the state and then 472. Again, I feel like it's within that range of the total score and percentile. And that's math, so again, room for some improvement. And then here is what Gary's talking about. I was really excited for this, you guys, because we're moving up. Like, okay, so not that I'm competitive or anything. Anyway, I was very excited to look at not just the bar, but if you look at Sanborn, Epping, and Raymond at 56, 57% proficient, and we're 67. I mean, that is like significantly higher, and the fact we're a little bit higher percent than Exeter. Isn't that great? So happy for our kids.
Not that it's a competition.
Not
but
that
if
it's
it
a
was, we'd be
competition.
winning.
It is a former district.
Come
but
on,
it's-
we're kicking the butts. Let's be
It's
honest.
not a competition, but it shows such growth. I always say it's not about perfection, it's about progress. So the progress that the district is making is celebration to me. And I'm very excited about it. The state of New Hampshire proficiency was 55%, and so for us to be 67, I'm just so proud of the teachers and the students. And again, this is district-wide, it's not broken down by school. And then for math, you know, continue to be very pleased. Even though our score is the same as Exeter, I just felt I'll keep Newmarket right there. Anyway, yeah, I think that we're headed in the right direction. The state was 42% proficient. So we are certainly headed in the right direction. And it appears, if I look at that math for questions that you asked, again, it's the entire, for math, district, but at 51, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Room for improvement.
If you pulled sixth grade out, I'm curious. And not to be facetious, but just curious, is that a big contributor to?
Right, the sixth grade. I will, I can send an email out to my colleagues in the curriculum team and ask. Yeah. And
I was just going to say,
yeah.
this is a great slide, by the way. I was really impressed by it. One of the best
Gonna
presented slides
print
tonight.
Print it out and email it
Yeah,
to Chris.
I was going to.
That's why you didn't pick up on the initial, previous.
But it just kind of clicked in my head that this is percent efficient, proficient, excuse me, is number of kids. So we're talking about people. So what in that 58%, see the math there? When that 58% is different than the 42%, right? Who are we missing? Why are we missing them? How can we solve that problem? And maybe it's what you've talked about, and maybe it's something else, I don't know.
Well, I do think, going back to what Patty was talking about, the work, particularly in the math realm, of the K-8 educators and the really rich conversations they're having. And it is about how to meet the needs of all of the kids in the classroom. You know, I think in a more traditional model, you say, okay, we'll take the kids that show signs of being strong math students early, and we'll separate them, and they'll get an enriching experience, but everybody else is sort of treated differently. And what we're trying to do is to make sure those kids that need an extra challenge are getting that, but at the same time making sure that everybody's getting an appropriate math experience. Because one of the biggest challenges in math actually is to convince people that they are mathematicians, that they can, because it's one of those subjects that people can have a tendency to go, well, I'm just not good at that, so therefore they tend to dismiss it. Whereas it's not as likely in the reading realm. I think people do recognize the value of becoming a good reader regardless, so people persist more, they persevere more in that realm. But in math, it is a lot about convincing people, no, just because you took a little longer to get there doesn't make you any less proficient at it. And I think that's what the teachers are really looking at. What is the focus got to be? And when they have those aha moments of, wait a minute, we have been focusing on the wrong priority standard in this grade level. That opens a whole door of like, okay, now we're preparing kids. So I do think that addresses a big chunk of that, because I think ultimately you want to meet all kids' needs in the classroom. And the only way to do it is through, on the instructional side, figure out how do teachers do that.
And talk to each other and just give opportunities for 5th and 6th grade teachers
And
to meet.
Go ahead, please.
Well, the hill I'm going to die on is, as a teacher, this is one singular assessment, usually broken up over 2 days. So I have watched students, you know, and at this point they have scratch paper and everything is done digitally. There's no comma. There's a decimal point, but a lot of kids will put in, there's no comma. When you put in 4,000, it's 4,000. Drives me nuts. We put in feedback every year. But I've watched students, 40 minutes, you sit there, 40 minutes, things are up. You got your gum, you got your, your Smarties because you're smart, all the things. But you watch kids, I don't know what this means. Space bar and click. And I'm not saying that's a lot of students, but also to be opted out of the New Hampshire SAS to complete an alternate assessment, you have to be very significantly unable to access anything in the test. So when you think about children who have special education needs, modifications, all these things, that's not modified in this. You can put them in a room and give them their headphones and scribe for them, but if I am academically on 2nd grade level, I'm still taking the 4th grade test, and so I just, it breaks my heart that we do have to put this on a ballot when you're taking a kid in one test, and a test that I argue most average adults would not exceed 51%. So I just, I do hear you. I mean, I'm sure there's definitely a percentage in there where we need to do something to reach them, but I wish there was a different way. I think iReady gives us a clearer picture, because at least it's taking
shows the growth
pieces and shows growth, but this is, again, it's the
And I'm going to
hill I'll die on.
segue off from you're saying too, and what you said about vocabulary. A lot of times, the other day I read, if you're giving a 3rd grader a math test that has a 6th grade reading level, are you really assessing, what are you assessing, math or reading, or, and that's a big issue. It's a big issue. And the vocabulary that comes in, and you're standardizing it for the Newmarket K-8, K-12, but these tests don't take that in, and you don't get to really review what the tests are, so you can't say, well, when you're talking about rectangles, that, that also means this, this, and this.
We have cultural differences and names and things that happen in California, and they're like, what is that? And kids get focused on.
So we could have a whole discussion about
Testing skills.
the tests, which as classroom teachers, sometimes we look at and we go, oh, God, do we have to do it again?
I think no one measure is the end-all
That's
be-all,
right.
and I think that's where we have to start asking ourselves, what are the other measures? That's why you're doing an alumni survey, and getting people to give us anecdotally, what was my experience like after Newmarket? Did I feel prepared? Was I ready for that freshman math class when I was in college? You know, that kind of thing. Those kind of things are also important, and frankly, we got to do, with the vision of a graduate, we got to start to look at some of those that are not standardized test-based, but I mean, we were talking about, particularly with the middle school teachers, we had spent the afternoon talking about middle-level education, and one of the things that came up was so much of what they do with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders is executive functioning training. And it's not so much about teaching them content as it is about helping them to figure out how to manage and function, and what does it look like in those 3 years that are middle school to get a student from that sort of like scattered all over the place learner to a place where like, actually, I know where my pencil case is. I know I can find my math homework, you know, that kind of thing. And those are things that are very real. I mean, you can we can have a brilliant, you know, math mind or a literacy mind, but if you're scattered and you can't share it, that impedes. So I think there's lots of things that we have to do. I'm glad you mentioned the law requiring us to put standardized tests on the ballot. It does give us a particular focus to one measure, and so I would just give you the spoiler alert at the deliberative session. I will be stealing some of Patty's slides because I want to make sure to highlight for the community, this is on the ballot, but I want you to I want to put it in a context for you, because you can't put any context on the ballot. The ballot is just go in and vote yes or no, but helping people understand that.
I should, I implied that Newmarket had 42% proficient. Incorrectly, it's 51%, so
Yes.
just clarify that.
Thank you. The other thing, I don't know, there's this education doctorate, his name's Dr. Brad Johnson. I don't know if he's on Facebook. Anyway, he put something out about the test scores versus the functional skills. Like, education isn't all about test scores. It's about learning how to make it through the test, how to not melt down when you can't understand a word, how to be able to sit through a class. And so, you know, it was a great printout of what it means to be well-educated beyond the test scores. And I'll often point that out to many people who want to say, well, the test scores are horrible. And I'll say,
Well,
That's
just a
only one
quick
thing.
side story. Earlier today, I was in my office, and you know the walls are very thin, and so like I can hear phone calls of everybody. But and I'm probably throwing Erica under the bus a little bit. But hey, what the? I could overhear her on the phone with her son, and they're going through finals week at Oyster River High School. And she's walking him through what he needs to do to prepare for the test. No, you got to do this. Even as a high school student, she is coaching him through. No, it's not enough to think you know the material. You need to really have a strategy for how you're going to prepare yourself, and talking him through all that. And that is so very true. The test in and of itself is not the end-all be-all. It's the capacity to learn and to prepare yourself to be able to, yes, to persevere through the assessment, but it is how to learn.
Right.
And that's really what we need to
how to learn
inspire
and how to
kids.
function.
How to advocate for yourself if you don't. I mean, maybe it's personal with my oldest, but I know Gary had talked about this before. How to advocate for yourself if something isn't working. I'm not understanding it this way. What do I need to do? Who do I need to ask for help for something? Because I think that you know, nobody's a mind reader. So if you don't know that somebody doesn't understand something or needs help with how to prepare for a final, if only everybody had.
And since Sawyer's right here, and he's right in the middle of it, what's your expert opinion as a student?
I mean, for the topic of finals, I feel like with a sister who is almost done with college and with multiple friends who have started going through college, I feel like at the high school level, we're not really taught, since Newmarket, we don't have finals, we're not really taught how to prepare for finals. We're not really taught how to study for tests. So I think that would be extremely beneficial. I mean, I've always been for getting a final at Newmarket, but that's a really unpopular opinion among my peers.
Can't imagine
Although,
why.
what I'll do is I'll tell everybody that we're having school on Monday because Sawyer said we had to study for our finals. How about that?
Sawyer's going to do a seminar on taking finals.
I mean, it is a really good point, though. Standardized test taking is a skill unto itself. And if you go to any number, I'm not going to name drop the private schools, but all of the high-flying private schools have prep courses on how to take standardized tests. It's not an accident that the kids who go there, on average, are going to do better on the SATs because they've been taught how to take a multiple choice test. They've been taught how to look at questions and, okay, I can eliminate 2 of these right away just on the basis of how it's done. So even if I'm guessing it's a 50-50 shot, it is really a skill, and we don't focus on it, and I'm not mad about that, because honestly, it's a skill that once you're done with college, you'll never use again in life.
I just want to.
I will say, spoiler alert, on the alumni survey, there are quite a few comments from college students saying, yeah, it would have been helpful to have had more of those kind of experience, more cumulative tests, just to, not necessarily because the test in and of itself was necessary, but it's that idea of learning how to prepare yourself and making you more prepared for the college environment.
And would that, when you're talking about having more tests, would that be subject-related? Like having end-of-chapter tests or end-of-semester tests?
I mean, most of my classes have end-of-chapter tests or end-of-unit tests, but maybe, like an end-of-semester, like everything you've learned through the semester, one larger test, or even like an end-of-the-year final where you maybe not go as in-depth into every single topic, but at least touch on every topic to make sure that you actually learned something throughout the year.
Midterms and finals is what I'm hearing.
Well, I mean,
I protested that in college.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a final that we count.
No.
It could be an experience final that, you're probably not going to get kids to study a whole heck of a lot for it, but.
This is the fun
and-
final.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
Sawyer
it's-
Hill Fun Final.
If
everybody
it's an
has to take from now on.
application-related final, right, if
Yeah.
it's an application-related final, no, you're not sitting down writing all the specific things you learned. But if you learned it all, then you can apply it in whatever meaningful way, whether it's, I don't know.
Making
in text
connections.
or whatnot, or what you would do, as an engineer in this situation that you're presented with, and obviously we know you understood it, versus having to just like.
If it was an extra credit final, I'm sure a lot of kids would probably
Yeah.
take it fairly seriously. Yeah,
Well, thank you, that was,
yeah, that is interesting.
Andy, are you hearing all this discussion? I can
Dr.
tell he's
Corman?
taking notes. Yeah.
Doctor?
All right,
That was it?
don't want to stifle the discussion, but also we've got more of the agenda to get through. So anybody have any closing questions or comments?
And I did ask Andy and Sean to be in case there were any specific questions you had about any of the testing or anything like that that might relate to them. Not saying you have to, but I just acknowledge they're here for that purpose.
and
Going
I
once?
just have to comment on the last slide. I used to have this little mantra that said, the question is the answer. It's like,
Yeah.
you think you're done, but now what are your questions? So that you can
Like
apply
Jeopardy.
further. Go down that rabbit hole. What'd you say?
Like Jeopardy.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right,
Well,
thank you, Patty.
everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Todd is going to educate us on the requirements of HB 1265 and the documents
I
we're
wanted
putting
to make
together
sure to
around it.
share this with you before it became published for the world. HB 1265 was a law that was passed back in the 24 legislative session, but this is the first year that the requirements of it go into play. Basically, what it requires is that we present 10 years' worth of data of our cost per pupil, 10 years' worth of teacher salaries, 10 years' worth of administrator salaries, and then publish the four highest paid salaries in the district. Spoiler alert, I'm one of them. Okay, I'll just say it right there. And there's another one out there. But the intent of it is to try to, and it's written in a way that's a little bit ambiguous, but you're supposed to try to present the data in terms of current dollars. So there's been so if you go to the state website and you say, what was let's take the average salary of teachers in 2015 in Newmarket, you'll see a number that's smaller than the number that is on this chart. It had to be adjusted because, you know, the dollar you earned in 2015 was worth more than the dollar you earn today. Okay, so it's trying to give you that basis of comparison. So if you can just kind of look at it, I did want to just give you some context for some of the, hold on, I can open it myself.
Let's see, the constant dollars thing is interesting because inflation over the past 3 years has, I mean, this is actually not a totally unfair way to look at this.
No, actually, I think in the end, as long as you fully grasp what it is, it does make a certain amount of sense. So if you look at this, and by the way, these are going to be, in fact, they might already be out in the lobby when you walk out. The law required us to have 18 by 24 posters made of this stuff, and it's posted, it's going to be on the lobby at the town office, so it'll be posted there. That's one location, and we're going to post it in both schools, and it's going to be posted on our website. So it's very public information for people to see. So kind of walking through it with you, you can see the average cost per pupil in 2024 dollars, because the most recent data when this data was collected was 2024. But you can see, if you go back to 2015, the average was just under 20,000 per student. Today, it's around 24,000. You can see there was definitely an upward trend from 2019 to 2021. I would note 2020 was the pandemic, and there was a lot of structural things that happened in schools and frankly, the economy that kind of skewed things. But you can see certainly in the last 4 years, you can see that the trend of cost per pupil, as I've been preaching to you as much as I can, we are doing what we can to bring ourselves more in line with the state average. You can see there's a downward trend on cost per pupil. If you look at the one on teacher salaries, again, if you go to the state website, 2015, the average was 47, but this is adjusted up to be in line with these dollars for 2024. So the 2024 number is actual dollars, but it's being compared, and you can see on average in 2020 there was a higher average. What that is probably more attributable to. Thank you very much. What that's probably attributable to, we did have quite a few departures in staff at that point. You might have had a more veteran staff at that point. And actually, I think I told you this at one point, particularly at the high school, we had something like 60% of the high school staff at one point was probationary. There were new teachers. So obviously, newer teachers are paid less, so your average goes down. But you can see there's a little bit of a spike there, but for the most part, level. If you look at administrator salaries, it's kind of.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, I just have a question. Do they also, I know they designate the paper, do they designate the scale you have to use on the side, like 5,000 or I'm just.
Really small fonts.
No, no, not the font size.
No, I know.
The law does not specify. I would tell you this is the same format that every school district covered by the NHSA is using. This was actually developed by the Business Administrators Association. I agreed with you. There's room for improvement in the quality of our graphs.
Count by tens and 10,000s instead, or I don't know.
I'm sure we could if we. But we were trying to be consistent with regional districts. If you go down to administrator salaries, I did want to point out a couple of things there. You'll see that's a really funky looking graph. But what is the big difference there is in 2018 and 19, there was no assistant superintendent in the district. That position was eliminated, and then it was brought back in 2020. And so you can see and actually I believe from 2015 to 2016, the position was first created. Yeah, in 2016. So you can see there's a little bit of funkiness there. I would point out this does not reflect other costs of administration that may be caused by not having an assistant superintendent. For example, during the 2018-19 period, we paid stipends to dozens of teachers to take on functions that were administrative in terms of curriculum development. So
doesn't show
Or
up
the
in.
grants that get created because of people in those
Right.
positions, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so it's a bit of a misnomer to think, gee, there was no expenditure there. It's just this graph of administrative salaries takes the six, it takes superintendent, assistant superintendent, business administrator, student services director, high school principal, and high school, junior high principal, and elementary principal. So it's 6 positions, and that's the average in $2024 over that time period. And
So-
obviously, when you have one less position in there,
So
and I'm
joint-
also, there's some funkiness around facilities,
With
business
joint facility
administrators,
director, yeah.
and some trade-offs. So there's some funkiness there in 2018-19 is what I'm
So we were
trying to get at.
paying the administrators the same in 2016 and 17 as in 2020. 22, excuse me,
Yeah,
2022.
pretty close. I went, just using my, the superintendent's salary, I went back to 2015 and looked at the raw salary that was paid and looked at it in comparison to the raw salary I'm paid, and then just said, okay, let's assume a 3% COLA over that 10-year period. It's almost identically
Yeah.
the same number. What I worry about, and I'm sure you do too, is when you give information out of context,
Yep.
people can interpret whatever they want to from it, and I just wanted to make sure you saw it, because it's going to be out in the world tomorrow, so you could answer questions. And then, of course, the last piece is the required salaries of the top 4 people. So anyway, yes, Kathy?
And is that why the elementary principal isn't on there?
Yeah, it's only the top 4
Top 4, yeah,
salaries, so
okay.
If we had the top 5, he would
Yeah,
be,
okay. Didn't want to leave him out.
no, he's not upset.
Right. The optimistic part of me, it's a weird thing to be optimistic about, wants to assume that on election day, we'll have people come and, so for the new board members who haven't done this before, we have to have somebody there manning the table at the front of the voting place for all of we take shifts, basically. The optimistic part would like to think we're going to have more people coming up and asking questions by virtue of this being out there. The realistic part is that probably very, very few people will pay any attention to it,
But that's a really good point, is to understand, I don't want to say the talking points, but to understand the data ourselves so that we can
Yes.
be good advocates of it. I think you're right. I don't think people realize that school board members are there necessarily unless they have to get close enough to read our.
Yeah, they always come
Health
up and
badges,
talk to
but-
me like I'm an election.
Yeah,
they're-
exactly, so-
Where do I get a pen?
The back.
I don't know, ask someone who works here. Just,
So because of that, is there any way to have like a Q&A answer sheet or anything?
it's, I think certainly in bounds for us to have that in our pocket.
Yeah.
If somebody comes and asks about it, we just can't post it with the
Right,
same.
right.
With the same prominence as the things we're required to do by law.
The memo that's with this, Bryant took a crack at trying to explain what it is. So where the law says the posters, you can't have any context on the posters, but it doesn't say you can't have a memo next to it that explains what the posters are. So we're going to put them up there, and then there'll be Bryant's memo next to it. So somebody who's standing there in the front lobby going, what is this? They can read the thing that says, oh, okay, this is where it came from.
Yeah, we're going to have to cut that down a little bit. Nobody's going to read
Well,
that.
I was thinking we need to make sure the lines are long enough that people, it takes 10 minutes to vote per person today, sorry.
But, yeah, we'll talk about it.
Anyway,
It's a
so
tad
anyway,
wordy.
so I wanted you to see this because the law
Yeah.
requires 1 week prior to your town meeting deliberative session, the stuff has to be posted. So it's going up tomorrow because it has to be up. And it doesn't mean we can't come up with new explanations later on for it, but the documents have to go up.
Okay. All right, so, let's talk about lead testing.
This is good news. Yeah, lead testing is a fun topic.
And
You
Sawyer,
may-
if you need to go at any point.
You want to learn about lead? Oh, yeah, of course you do. Yeah, so in 2022, a new law was passed on lead levels in water supply, and it basically made the standards more stringent. Previously, it had been like 15 parts per billion that would cause you to have to do mitigation. With the new law, it went down to 5 parts, so it was substantially different. We went through, in fact, you may remember, we did a testing of all 143 water sources in our buildings, and 6 of those did not meet the new standard. This was 2 years ago.
did not meet the new standard. Immediately, mitigation was done, and those were all corrected. But as part of our mitigation process, we've been involved in a grant where we have repeatedly tested, and we've now just completed the third and final round of testing, and we're pleased to report all of our water sources are under the new standard, meaning that we're doing fine. And just in case anybody gets nervous, from years ago when we didn't meet the new lower standard with 6 sources, none of them were sources of water where people were drinking it. They were faucets that were used for custodial things like for cleaning. So none of our drinking fountains, nothing being used in our kitchens, nothing like that was ever at issue. And all of those 6 sources were below the previous standard. It was a new standard that we needed to meet. But now, through the hard work of Dave Riley and his team, all of our sources are there, and we can be happy that the federal, state mandates of testing are now been fulfilled, and we're in good shape. So congratulations for having clean, healthy drinking water.
Excellent. You can drink out of the mop buckets here.
I wouldn't recommend that.
So Sawyer, lead is why people, Gary and my age, are like angry and can't use Instagram because, we breathed in all the leaded gasoline fumes when we were. So next on the agenda, we will acknowledge a very generous donation from NCEP in the amount of $616.20 to fund a reading nook for literacy that was requested by Jennifer Gokasian at the elementary school?
In the elementary school library.
Yes. Okay. I know, right? So thank you so much to NCEP for that and for all the good things that they do for the school community. All right, moving along, action items. I would accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our January 8th, 2026 board meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second?
Thank you, Lonnie. Did anybody see anything in the minutes that needed to be edited or?
Typographically, they may want to do just a Control F for the word review spelled without the second E. REVIW shows up frequently in there. I imagine it was just a copy-paste thing over and over again, but that was really all I had to add, just typo.
Thank you. We love pedantic when it comes to meeting minutes. Anything else?
There was one other typo I found earlier, but I didn't mark it down.
Close my tab. Look at me, now I'm one of those people. It's because I didn't walk around with a water bottle until I was 40.
See, too many gasoline fumes.
I guess I know it's a question. Was it this?
I just spelled development.
DEVELOPMENT.
That's a word.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Okay, that's where the E in review went.
That's
It's in
There you
development
go.
now.
Now we know how it happened, yeah.
Lonnie, did it come to
Nope,
you?
it
or-
did.
Okay.
I didn't know if the, us going into non-public was.
All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes subject to the couple of relocated E's that we discovered, please say,
One more.
okay,
Y on my name. A lot of people call me Kath, but
okay. We have letters migrating all over the
Do
place.
you or don't you want a Y on your name? You want a Y? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I do.
Give this lady her Y.
Not an IE.
Five vowel.
All those in favor? Aye.
We
We
are
are
slap
unanimous.
happy today.
Yeah, we're punchy.
Storm's coming.
All right, who has the manifest?
Hot
Jeff
potato.
snuck an extra page in there. I move to approve the manifest for January 22nd, 2026 in the amount of $719,432.74.
Thank you, Lonnie. Second from Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're unanimous. So we have on the action items approving the draft SAU calendar. I think this is something we discussed last.
Well, but we didn't actually officially approve it because I'm
Right.
still waiting for feedback from SST, which we did get. I did make one change at the request of the union. This year, we did the half-day, the day before the Christmas winter vacation. and they requested we do that again because they liked that. So that's the one change to this from what you've seen before. But other than that, this would be the official blessing of the calendar from the board that would go out to the public, and people can start planning their vacations or whatever around this.
The only problem with that is if we do that, it takes away the Christmas present that we can give them.
I know.
I guess we'll just early Christmas present.
All right, so.
I'd move that we approve the SAU calendar for years 26, 27.
Thank you, Jeff.
Also bless it as a second.
Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Another nice long break.
Yeah. All right, I would accept a motion to approve the junior, senior high school music department's overnight field trip to Concord.
So moved, and congratulations to them.
Thank you, Gary.
Second?
Thank you, Lonnie, and yes, congratulations to Maggie Ellis and Reagan Yount. Tremendous job, so congratulations to them both. All in favor?
Aye.
We're unanimous. Oh, and also, by the way, congratulations to Tony Foy for
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
the tremendous work in elevating our music program. We have a staff request for unpaid leave.
Yeah, again, this is part of the para contract. It's required that any unpaid leave be brought to the board for approval. There are actually 2 staff that have requested unpaid leave. I've looked it over internally. It's not a problem for us to grant it, so I would just ask your approval to be able to grant that to those staff.
All right, do we have
So
a
moved.
motion?
Seconded?
Thank you, Lonnie. Thank
And
you,
this-
Jeff.
This will be, at the end of this contract, we will no
Correct.
longer have to do this
Correct.
anymore.
Beautiful. All those,
And that would start in June next year?
The 20th, yeah, the next contract, yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're unanimous. I believe we need a non-public meeting tonight to discuss collective bargaining.
That'd be a non-meeting.
In this case, I would
Depending.
prefer it be a non-public meeting.
Okay.
because-
Yeah. All right, so do we know what letter that is out of?
RSA 91-A, is it the one that's written on here or no? Oh, no, we need the
It
letter.
is, but there's a
I'm sorry,
particular
we need the
letter you
letter.
gotta.
KI or L, I think. It's been a while.
Come on, Gary, you called yourself
Oh
a
my
chair
gosh,
for
it's
how
so,
long?
yeah, too long.
Should have these on here, just coming right out.
Well, we do have a sheet, but
Yeah,
the sheet is failing us at the
I'm just
moment.
trying to spot the right word here. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to ask AI.
Too many E's.
Kidding.
So I would say 2E then.
All right.
Negotiations.
So I would accept a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, Chapter 2, Part E.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kathy. By roll call vote, Lonnie?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Gary?
Aye.
Kathy? Jeff?
Aye.
All right, we are in non-public. Channel 8.